for joining us on today's episode of how why I chose my wife. We just finished, well, not just finished, but we had a series that ran how I met my husband. So why I chose my wife is the male version, and our guest is just on time. So let's just get right into it. Let me invite IBK in. Okay, I just sent an invitation. Okay, yeah, it is. It's showing that it is sent. Mm, okay, I'm not sure. Maybe you're not getting it. So let me cancel and resend. Okay, yeah, you've tried sending. I'm not sure why it's not.
Hey,
Good.
how's it
This is
going?
not good. Well, I don't know if it's morning your time, but good morning, IBK. I
Oh,
don't even take this sacrifice for granted at all.
it's very morning. Oh. It's
It's
like
very as morning as you can
I'm
get.
telling you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, IBK. I don't when we're fixing the time and I was like, should we do we adjust? And you're like, don't worry, you make up. Like no, it really did touch me and I will not take it. I don't take it at all for granted that you even made out time to be here. Thank you
Oh, of
so much,
course. You're
IBK.
welcome. It's my
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be here.
So good to see you. So
Yeah,
good. So I'll just
thanks
read
for having me.
I'll just read a brief part of your profile because there's a lot to learn about IBK. So we'll just read a brief part and then we dive right into the conversation. Mr. Ibukun Oluwadebayo is a seasoned global business strategist and product leader with an illustrious career spanning renowned organizations. His journey, enriched by academic excellence and solidified by remarkable corporate experiences, represents a huge blend of strategic acumen and operational brilliance. Is a graduate with a master's in diversity management from the University of Leeds, an MBA in international business practice from St. Mary's University, and a bachelor's in industrial relations and human resource management from Covenant University. IBK's academic foundation is deeply rooted. His academic journey laid the groundwork for his prowess in people's management, molding theoretical knowledge into tangible world-changing solutions. Like I said, there's a whole lot about IBK. He's a consistent change catalyst. It leads organizations through complex transformations, is lean HR solutions, process improvements, and adept regulatory navigation have yielded operational efficiencies across borders. It introduced cutting-edge technologies and automated critical processes to drive growth, savings, and profitability. And there's so much more about what IBK has done over the years and who he is. So I'm even glad that for we have this kind of person on this live because it's going to give us a
No
balance to our
problem.
conversation. So I'll dive right into it. IBK, we've met you briefly, like we said, there's much more about you. But IBK, you have this great achievement and you're a person that continues to be a go-getter because you have a purpose in life and you're continually walking towards it. But you decided that I'm going to get married, and not only I want to get married, you went on to get married. Now, I'm sure that it is no news to you that, and I'm sure you even have colleagues that are single, who have the things that you have. I like, so what's the need for getting married? I'm just not going to get married. I just continue to pursue my career rather, and I'm just going to live life. Like, why should you hold me down? Why should there's a lot of words that people use for marriage. So if you could take us through that train of thought that made you decide to say, you know what, I want to get married before we even now move to why you chose your wife?
You know, it's funny because should I say that just like my career, my personal life kind of has the same flow, should I say, or energy or motivations
Mm,
to go with it. So my career, I always had like an idea of what I would do at every point in time. You know, go to high school, finish high school, go to uni, finish uni. You know,
mm,
I was going to. I always said to man, I even told my wife when I met her that I've always wanted to be married by 26. I think that's the only,
wow.
yeah, that's the only. Well, I mean, I didn't achieve that. That's probably the only thing I set out to do that I didn't achieve. But thankfully so, because you know, God always works his things out in his own time, and everything worked out in his time. But I mean, I had known my wife even before I turned 26. I was engaged by her at that time as well. So, you but in terms of why I decided to get married, should I say it was more for the desire of friendship with my partner than anything else? Um, so besides the fact that I always had this, perfect idea of what marriage would be like, or when I would be married, it was also more like when I met my wife, we we I proposed within the first year of
okay.
our relationship. But one thing about me is if I know, the way I make decisions is that once I know that this is the right thing to do, I don't flake, you know.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
I don't I don't take too long to make decisions, right? And the beautiful thing about meeting and knowing my partner was that I knew from the first day. Actually, I think in my excitement, I must have even told her that.
wow.
But we didn't get married until 4 years later in
Mm,
2020, right?
okay.
And this was 3 years or so, three plus, well, 2018 to 2019, 3+ years after getting engaged, right? So,
Mm,
um, I I think in terms of choosing,
mm,
we had chosen each other, and I was sure, and I believe that she was at some point
mm,
from the first date, right? Everything else after that was just time, right? So, yeah, but would I say that there was a categorical reason why I decided to get married?
mm,
I don't think so. I think, like I said earlier, it was for the want of friendship and, guaranteed friendship for life
mm,
with this person. That decision was made. It was a decision I knew that was the right thing to do. Of course, I it was more like it was right online on in line with where God was leading me to go.
mm,
And yeah, I guess, just took that bold step of faith because that's really what it was.
mm, mm. Okay. So let's get into why you chose her and why this question is such a million-dollar question, IBK. This is my space. There seems to be a lot of unmarried people. It's like the more we grow in the more the years go by, the more people are choosing to be unmarried, even though, of course, you still have a great number of people getting married, especially in Africa. So this conversation is important to learn from people like you so that men and even women can learn from why you took certain decisions, and of course learn to now create it into their own personal life goals, experience, and their own personal calling. So why did you choose your wife particularly? Because you are the guy in the equation. You could have chosen anybody else. You probably had some prospects before her, but why was she the one to say, you know what, I'm going to bank on this? And I'm sure, well, by faith, really, but this is the decision I want to go with by faith. You are the one I am choosing beyond the other girls that are available in the world.
So, well, I spent the whole of this week kind of asking myself that question. Why did you choose your wife?
Ah,
it's,
can you
a,
imagine? Nice, nice.
it's a
Yeah.
very it's a very interesting question because I would say to a large extent that question goes against a lot of the things I believe in. Um,
And I want to hear your perspective.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, I don't believe that um, a wife is a choice.
Mm,
Um, I feel more like it's a response to a
mm,
calling or to a call, right?
mm,
Um, because if you choose your wife, that means one day you can decide to unchoose your wife.
mm,
Do you
mm,
understand what I mean? The
mm,
same goes for if you choose your husband, you can also decide to unchoose him because it's a choice. You know, the Bible says that I've given you the options between life and death, but
mm,
I urge you to pick life.
mm,
Even God Himself urges you to choose. You
mm,
understand? Not
mm,
because not because He doesn't have the power to, force your choice, but because as humans, the moment it becomes a choice, you have the choice to not choose.
mm,
You know,
mm,
and so when I say I don't really agree that I chose my wife. I think more or less like what happened was that I responded to God's calling upon our lives, upon my life, and she responded to God's calling upon our life. And so the mutuality of that response is what led to our marriage. Now, why did I decide to ask my wife to be my partner? Even from the day one of our relationship, because deciding to date my wife wasn't a decision I made off the fly. It was prayerfully made.
mm,
Yeah. Um, well, a lot of people have, I think maybe I rephrase the question to how did I know that my wife was my wife? Maybe that's
mhm,
a better question.
mm,
And a lot I've heard and been asked that question a lot more. And I think as the years go by, it becomes more clearer why. Um, First, I knew like that was and a lot of people will, what do you mean you knew? But again, how do you know your name is Ibukun, or how do you know your name is Nkechi?
mm,
Do you understand? It's the same way that you know that this person is supposed to be your life partner. It's like you have siblings, right? How do you know this person is your sibling? Do you understand?
mm.
Nobody, you didn't go to any school to learn about your sibling,
No.
right? And if we're going by practical terms, the idea is that biblically, your wife is predetermined or your partner is predetermined to some extent, meaning that God has taken your rib and formed a woman out of it in
Mm,
practice. Right? And so when you meet that person eventually, the same way Adam saw Eve and said, yeah, I will call you woman because you were taken from me. Nobody told Adam that God did not tell Adam that I've taken a rib from you and I will form a woman.
mm,
God put Adam down to sleep, took the rib out, formed the woman, and when he saw her, he knew that you are my partner, you are my life partner, you are meant for me. Adam had been presented with so many other organisms, you know,
that's true. Yeah,
and
true.
he didn't he
Yeah.
didn't respond in that manner. right? But the moment he met Eve, he knew that she was the one for him. And that should be in practice the same experience, right? And that was my experience in all honesty. I remember our first dates because I mean I've known my wife in passing social settings from time to time. We had chats and chats and chats. When we finally got to sit down to talk and just be friends and just interact, and on our first date, really, I could see everything that I wanted in a partner in her.
Mm.
Not because at that moment I was thinking, oh, now it's time to get married, or because, oh, I became at 24, you gotta be getting ready for your 26th
Yes.
birthday. No, it wasn't really. It was more about um the way she spoke, the way we connected, without trying to, you know, not like we're finishing each other's sentences and all of that, but we had various experiences. It was just right. It was like I'd known this person for all my life, but I hadn't. You know,
Mm.
I'd known her at the time barely less than what, maybe 6 months, and not known her as per we used to talk and all of that, but just had a
Mm.
few run-ins before then and a few text exchanges back and forth. You
Okay.
know, and so in reality, I can't tell you that I chose my wife. I think the short answer is I responded, to God's calling on our lives, you know, especially around our marriage.
I think that is an exceptional answer, and this is why I'm happy to have you, IBK, because at the end of the day, it's true. We cannot all be answering things the same way or even say things from the same perspective. So
Mm.
I actually like this topic. It's really fresh, and I cannot wait for us to even cut out this part of the conversation and put it out there so that men can know. Men can know because it's really profound what you shared. The next question I want to ask is why. I know you don't worry, you're not in the relationship space and all that, but just with your interaction with people daily, and human relations with your work and even outside of work, what have you seen is the reason why some men are still or choose to be single even though they can be married or respond to the call of marriage? What are some reasons? And I'm asking because working with ladies, you hear things like, "Oh, this man, that man is not ready." It's always the men. There's a series I'm currently running on radio. I'm talking about how the blame is always on the men. Is it truly always with the men,
Oh,
or what is changing in our world that is making people say, rather than respond to the call like IBK, they're like, "Yeah, I'm just going to remain single till whenever." Is there something they are looking for that is not on this planet? Or maybe you could share with us, please.
well, if anybody that says is the man, I would I would welcome or invite that person to go study the book of Roots and
Mm.
you know and observe what it
Mm.
takes to get a man to be married or to be ready, in quotes, to get married. But that's not the question. The question is really why do men abstain from marriage? And to be honest, like you said, I'm no expert, and I don't think I know a lot of men who are not married to the point where
Mm.
I have data. But I do know I have a lot of friends. I mean, I have not a lot of friends, but I got a couple of friends who are not married, and not because they refuse to get married, but for their whatever reasons they have, they're yet to get married, and that's okay, right? For me, I cannot tell you that I have it, and I don't believe that there is one answer, right?
Mm.
Or that a particular there's one a silver bullet that can help anyone going through said situation feel better or be
Mm,
better. The truth
mm,
is the truth, really. And for me, in this context, I believe that could be a couple of things, right? And the truth is, the first could be that said men are yet to actually meet, or I mean, it's maybe just not God's time, and that person
mm,
really on the girls on the ladies' side, that person is not your husband.
mm.
So, in truth, except you have explicitly heard from God, and the truth about God is that God doesn't work amiss, right? Is if he's speaking to one person, he's speaking to the other. Like I
That's
said, it's a mutual calling. God doesn't call the husband and forget to call the wife, or call the wife
that's
and
true.
forget to call the husband. So if you are being real with yourself, you know, then there's a there's a gap, right, in the
Mm,
calling. That's one. Second, now there are some lads that are just not down for my like they whether they've had like traumatic experiences, grown up in houses where marriage wasn't a thing of beauty, and so they had no reason to look forward to it. You know, a lot of scars, battle scars, also influence people's willingness to respond to the call. Because again, while God is always at work, He invites us to join Him in that work. And so, like rightfully in line with the conversation we are having today, that is at
mhm,
that point that you then have to choose to respond to
mm,
God's call, right? Not to choose your wife, but more or less to choose God in this issue.
mm, mm.
So a lot of people fail to respond to God's call, right?
Okay.
And that I believe that's what has led to the Yoruba saying "Olofiya o she girlfriend."
Mm,
That is to say, you have used your wife to do girlfriend. You know.
mhm,
Um. So yeah, I think that's also a reality that people have to deal with. Is that people are hesitant to take this bold step because they have seen some guys have married friends and they see what their married friends do in marriage. They're like, ah, no, 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 that's not for me. I don't want to do that. If I'm going to be married, I want to be married because my dad wasn't a faithful man. My parents were separated, or
mm,
I grew up in a house where domestic violence was the order of the day, and I don't want that to be me. Now,
mm,
there's the flip side of ladies too, because the truth is, like you said, the center of attention really is on the men,
mm,
but and the bulk of the blame rests with us naturally because we are supposedly the decision makers. But in my belief, it goes both ways, right? Is that
mm,
there's there's a way there's a way your partner will carry themselves, or there's a way your partner will present themselves in the relationship. Now, even you as the man, you will be adjusting yourself because you'll be like, this person is going this direction and it doesn't seem like, so before I asked my wife to marry me, I had hinted to her that, okay, do you see us in a marriage? Where do you want to be? I kind of gathered all those questions. And I believe that a lot of guys, some guys are ready to be married, but they just don't
mhm.
believe that it's what their woman or what their partner wants, you know
Okay.
because their partner hasn't given or shown body language because think about it this way. Social media today is rife with rejected proposals, right? It's not an easy thing. I always said to my wife that if she rejected my proposal the first time, she can be rest assured that I will never ask her again. And a lot of people, like I said, have a lot of trauma. Beyond even just family trauma, is that even the trauma of rejection.
Mm,
And so as not to get rejected at all, I best not ask. I know I know people who didn't even ask. their proposal was ceremonial because they're just like, she will marry Abu, you marry, will you marry Abi, you will not marry.
Nice, nice. So that you don't get embarrass me.
You
Hey, I
understand?
beg go.
So after they
Yes,
have
yes.
clarified the name, they have signed the they've signed the deal. They now came to announce
Mm,
it, through
right
a
now, yeah.
ceremonial proposal. So many reasons to be honest. Like marriage is one of the most complex uh, areas of research, in my opinion, because one person's marriage is a million miles apart from the next.
That's true. That's true.
There's no two same marriages. I've never seen it, and I've not lived long, but in my short years, I've not seen it. You know, even among siblings, two twins. You understand? Their marriages are
That's
totally different.
so different. So true. So
Yeah,
true.
so the same goes for the decision to marry. Is that different people get married for different reasons. There are some men who just want to marry so that they can have someone that can be cooking for them. You
Mm,
know, or someone that can just bear children and
mm,
or someone that and some people truly marry for uh some people truly marry for a cause, right? For a vision, a bigger vision. For me, I believe that my relationship is actually set apart for greatness, by God. Um and it's more than just having my partner and being with her, enjoying our companies, that there's actually a calling, like I said, to reach out to other folks,
mhm.
and be an inspiration to other people in our own way. And so, yeah, I guess, but I can't tell you like that there's one sure answer as to why people stay away from marriage.
And what you've even shared, even though you are saying you can't tell us, have been very insightful. You've shared, especially that part when you're talking about trauma. I know, like, to you, it was just chilled, but it's very serious, and it's something that I appreciate because I know that that is actually true. Although some people have not come to the space where they are telling themselves that particular truth. They are still arguing with themselves and using other external things to medicate. So you shared a good point there. Ivy, as a person living, working in the US, I want to ask about location. What
Mhm.
role do you think that location plays in choosing a partner?
Oh,
So yes, what I mean. The person wants to
putting
travel.
these your questions there.
But you know the IBK.
I,
Let
okay, well, I'm listening to for your. This one is for your Jackpa listeners. Abi. Ask your question.
yeah, let me go. Okay, go ahead. So, yes, what I mean, we have a lot of people that are established and are getting established in different parts of the world. The world's now a global village. So, in fact, nowadays, a lot of times you have to, especially if you're building a serious brand, you have to always put the time zone of the time you are inviting for something. If not, you can't just say, oh, 11 a.m., 11 a.m. what?
Oh,
People live in different parts of the
yeah.
world. But now, if some people have shared that they are what I particularly know a person who has shared this with me, how he wanted to get married to this particular lady, but she was refusing to leave that country. She was refusing to leave that country to come and join him in the country that he wanted to be a part of. Then I realized that this person eventually went to another country that he didn't want to go to before. There's just a lot going on
Mhm.
regarding this, or he didn't plan to. Maybe not, he didn't want to, but he didn't plan to. This location thing, at least in your own understanding, and you have a lot of wisdom, so I'm sure we'll learn a lot of things with this question. What do you think can be done differently? I even hope I'm framing the question right, but I see it as a hindrance. Sometimes some people want to get married to certain people, but a person cannot change their life or cannot change the trajectory of their life or don't want to leave the country. Especially, I've had women over and over again be like, this is where I want to be, but he wants to marry me and he's telling me to maybe come back to Nigeria or move to a different country. What do you have to say regarding that?
Well, ah, it's a slippery slope, to be honest.
Mm,
It's really a slippery slope because, well, I'll probably answer your question from sharing my story. So, like I said, I got engaged in December of 2017. By 2018, myself and my wife moved out of Nigeria to two different parts of the US at the time, right? For me, I was on a short course here. For her, she was here to do like a long-term program.
mm.
And between then and now, I've lived in 6 other countries, right?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
So
This was the right question for you. Wow.
and she has had a consistent stay here in the US, right? Or maybe four other countries, not six. She's had a consistent stay in the US, right? And so the the movements, it was in the middle of all this moving that we got married, right?
Mm,
Um, but so but at some point I had to decide. Someone had to decide that we had to choose our marriage above all else. You know,
that's a
um,
good point.
unfortunately, the world that we live in today only puts that responsibility on one side of the relationship, right? So you hear more the men asking the women to leave their base and come to them.
Yeah.
But now I want to break some tables, around that
Please,
that ideology.
please.
It's not
Yes.
biblical, in
Mm,
my opinion.
mm,
It's not biblical. If you look at the Bible, it's the responsibility of leaving home is actually the man,
mm,
not the woman. The Bible
mm,
says that a man leaves his father and his mother to cleave to his wife, right?
mm,
The relocation requirement is more on the man than the woman,
mm,
biblically. Now that's of course not a law in any way. It definitely seeks or requires application as regarding each person's own situation or preferences. But putting historically, women are more likely to abandon everything and move for the sake of their husband. So much that if you look at visa applications, right, um, there are more women on spousal student visas than there are men. You understand? Because even if a man is going to school today, his wife would pack everything with the children and she will go and be going to school with him. But if a woman is going to school, the man will be wishing her good luck from
good,
afar.
right? True. That's true. Yeah.
You know. As a matter of fact, I've even seen cases where the woman will pack all her children with her, and the guy will be in his own base trying to make sure that he has money. You know, and of course, this is by no fault of the men. I think it's just a lot of societal pressures and responsibilities that have been placed upon people or genders. And thankfully, in my home, we have been able to separate gender roles. We don't do that in my house. Um, and and well, now relationship does play a critical role. I mean, location does play a critical role in
Mm,
the decision to get married. However, I encourage people not to see it as a deal breaker.
mm,
Of course, at some point, somebody is going to have to make a sacrifice. But that is what marriage is all about. Um, my pastor put it this way. He said that it is more or less like a competition to run to the back of the line, you know,
mm,
as against competing to be in front of the line. Do you understand? Because most marriages that have competition in it is like they're competing to be better than each other. But really, what the competition should be is who can sacrifice more for the other person. So it's the
mm,
other way around. Is who is can I be more sacrificial today? Tinu cannot sacrifice me. I have to sacrifice more for this relationship, right? Without expecting anything in return. So it's a marriage is a sacrifice. I mean, my wife puts it much clearer. Is that she she says something like um, she can't believe that she's been sharing her home with a stranger, you know, because in reality, I've only known her maybe what 6 years,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
and she's comfortably sleeping and waking up in the same house with me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so so if that's the case, right, you want to be putting in more for this stranger, right? If
Mm.
you have decided that this person is going to be your partner for life, right? It is more, what can I do to make this marriage pleasant for my
Mm.
partner and vice versa? Now,
Mm.
like, and that's just talking about the sacrificial element of remote marriages, or remote relationships, I would say. Um, it is unfair to expect only one person to make sacrifice for a relationship. It's unfair. But if you want to be in a relationship, the day you decide that I want to be in a relationship, that
Mm.
day, that day you have subscribed to sacrifice.com, because every single thing that you are required to do, in fact, from the day that, and I'm using relationship because marriages start as relationships. And so
Mm-hmm. Yes,
the
absolutely.
day
Mm-hmm.
the day you decide to be, so I'm not saying that you have to start sacrificing when you are married. Sacrifice starts from the day you decide to be in a relationship, in a godly relationship.
Mm.
You understand? Because the idea of a godly relationship is that it's supposed to lead to
So
to
married.
marriage.
Mm.
That's why, I said earlier that the decision to even date was not a off the whim decision, it was prayerfully made. And I encourage everyone else to do the same. Like, there's no need to waste your time with somebody if you are not praying about the dating gone, you know. And so both parties must be ready to sacrifice. It has to be reasonable. Like, for example, if somebody is in the US and she's making big bag,
Mm.
like $5,000 a month, and you are in
Mm.
Nigeria, you are barely getting on with your 600,000, because your 600,000 value in Nigeria can get you a nice place in Lekki. You not think you have arrived, and so you're asking this body to move from the US with a bag to come and be managing your 600K only because what I look like today is not where I will be tomorrow. I
Mm.
beg, reasonable, right? What the question you should rather be asking is, what is best for the both of us? Not what is good for me as a man. What is best for the both of us? You know, like I said, for a long time I lived, we were married, and I'll be traveling, I'll be working in another country. But
Mm.
at some point I asked myself, what have I done for this marriage? Do you understand? I have to
Mm.
ask myself that question. What have I done for this marriage? What have I given up? You understand? For this marriage to work. And in truth, I had to make a decision, you know. And I haven't regretted it. You understand? It's not been easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. If you reflect back to the marriages of your parents, that's if you're lucky to have parents who had great marriages. I was one of those. I had such great luck with that, thankfully. And I still do. My parents are alive, thankfully, and they're still married. Um, you you would observe that the reason why they are still together, or they were able to be together for long, is because they constantly sacrificed for each other. And it wasn't just one-sided. You understand? And beyond the sacrifice is that the partner who is receiving that sacrifice, it is your duty, even if your partner doesn't expect anything in return, it's your duty to acknowledge the sacrifice that is being made on your behalf. You understand? That
Yes.
helps that process to be painless or to be less painful, because that you have committed to being sacrificial in your marriage, that you actually go ahead and make that sacrifice. It's not easy. And it's not going to be easy after the sacrifice. It's not like you make it like, shut it, I've done it down and so.
Has,
No.
oh yeah.
Your partner is going to live with that reality. And what's off if it's the guy? Because again, like I said, society has put so much pressures on men that it's almost very hard for some men to make some sacrifices, because you gotta be the man. You have to be the man in your relationship. How will I leave my sister? I mean, at least I'm making money. You
Mm,
understand? And then come and sit down with you where I cannot even work. Talk less of me making money. It's not like I don't want to work, it's that I can't work because of the visa I'm on, those kind of things. And so your partner has to be able to, the both partners in the relationship has to be able to be grateful for the sacrifice that your partners are making on your behalf, right? It's like Jesus dying on the cross and us as believers not acknowledging Jesus' sacrifice simply because Jesus was meant to die anyway.
mm,
I did not ask Jesus to love me, right? And then he
mm.
did, and then he died for me.
Yeah.
So, but I love Jesus, right? And so I acknowledge his sacrifice, and I make sure that his sacrifice was not in vain,
Then yes.
right? And the Bible encourages men to love their wives as Jesus loved the church. Meaning, and like I put it to you from the beginning, right? And that's why I'm ending
Mm-hmm.
with this scripture, that
Yes, you did that. Yeah.
the bulk of sacrifice, the responsibility for sacrifice in a marriage is more on the man than the woman. And mostly because what Jesus asked the woman to do was to submit herself to her husband, to relax. And men define, most Nigerian men define, and globally men define submission as something. Me, I define submission as God told the woman to relax and be taken and allow herself to be taken care of. That is really
Mm.
what I define submission as. Not that now she has become my slave, and when I cough, she must bring 5 cups of water. No, no, no. It's more or
Mm.
less like, Madam, you've met this guy. He's your husband. Just relax. Let him take care of you.
Yes. Mm.
And then look at the burden that he put on the man. He says, now you man, love your wife like Jesus loved the church. Meaning, you must be ready to put your life down the line.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
That's true.
And so I, I then always reflect. I'm like, so where did people get the idea that it's the woman who is meant to make all the sacrifices? And unfortunately, a lot of women are suffering in marriage. A
That's true.
lot, a lot of women are suffering in marriage. They can't say it, because they love the man, unfortunately. But marriage wasn't designed for suffering. If you are suffering, then you are doing, there's something, it's either you are in the wrong place or you are doing something wrong.
Mm.
So the point comes back to this. Bible days, right? Distance was a thing in marriages. Rachel traveled miles to meet her husband, Isaac.
Mm.
It's not strange to fall in love with somebody who is not in your immediate location. Neither is it strange for God to call two people in two different parts of the world to be married. And so, while it could be a huge burden on a relationship, the reality remains the same. It is a responsibility that you both must carry and be
Mm.
willing to sacrifice for, if truly you are convinced that this is meant for marriage. So you can start off, you know, making it work halfway. But at some point, I put it to you, to the man. I'm not even going to put on the woman. At some point, the man has to decide to make a move. Either you support the woman to move to you in the best way possible, or you yourself pack your load and go and sit down with your wife. Whatever the case may be, whatever the cost or sacrifice, maybe.
And this is, and you see, you're just shooting us with wisdom, IDK. Boy, you're just so chilled. Like, it's the way you're just chilled for me. Like,
It is
I
5:48.
feel,
I need to go. I need to go back to bed.
yeah, and you definitely
Yeah.
were, in fact, you are rounding up because you have shared a lot of wisdom. Like, I mean, well, you need to be doing some things, IBK, once in a while, even if it's once in a quarter, regarding relationship and marriage, because you definitely know a lot. We are IBK, don't do you. Okay, so we'll wrap up now. Start to wrap maybe two more questions and we'll wrap up. I
Sure.
just want to ask, what do men need in a wife now? With for a woman listening, not so this is not a personalized question. It's not necessarily personal. It's just generally from the years of being married and of course experiences with your other married friends. What do men generally need? Not want, not like, not admire, but what do they need in a wife, especially men in the 21st century?
Yeah.
IBK, but you know that wax question to Lagbara.
This is your question. Really like
We are
Bara.
coming to the male show. Imagine we have just asking you, you will not come back again. Like, which kind of question you
Next
asking
time,
me? But I have to ask you
you
deep
send me all these
questions.
questions ahead so I can be preparing my answer because you are really putting me. It's too early to be using my brain like this. I have a
But yeah,
long day today to even use my brain. Omo. Okay. So
don't
I'm
worry,
going to
after this
really
one,
try.
maybe just one last question that then so that you
That
can
last question
rest.
going to fear me because every question was stronger than the previous one. What do men want? That's even
So
men
what they
themselves don't. What do they need?
need,
So
yes, not like, not admire, not fantasize about, but the thing they actually need in a wife. I want to believe at least there's some generality to the needs. It can now be specific based on who the man is, his calling, and all that. So even if you can just give us three, so that whites, especially men in 21st century, because perhaps who knows, maybe the needs have changed, maybe they haven't changed. Well, that's why I'm asking.
um, I will tell you that there's really no general needs. At least, and if I start to tell you my own needs, men are going to cancel me because me, I'm different. I'm very, very different, and my ideas and philosophies are not very popular opinion.
Okay.
You know, but I'll try to answer your question in a way that can at least help my lady friends that are listening to your, because I believe that's who you're trying to get this question for.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Please, if a man needs you to be different or to change who you are, then that man is not your husband.
Hmm.
And so I'm
Okay.
flipping the question on its head. Is
Hmm.
rather than trying to meet a man's need, I'm telling you the
Hmm.
things that a man shouldn't need from you.
Hmm.
If a man needs your body to be married to you, then that man is not your husband. I believe that God made everybody perfect. Now, that doesn't abandon the reality that we will need to change to meet the needs of our partner. That is natural, and that will come naturally. Is that when you first start to date or when you first get married, there will be frictions, and you will see those frictions, right? You will actually experience those disagreements, but those disagreements are not bad. They are more or less like supposed to influence or help you know what is good and what is not so good for you to live in peace with this person, right? And they won't require major transformation, right? They won't require you to go get a BBL or to completely change your behavior or how you talk or how you look. It would be easy. It will be easy for you to meet those needs, right? It could be, my husband likes me to press this toothpaste from the bottom, so I'll press from the bottom, right? Instead of compromising or conforming, it should become a race to the back of the line. You understand? Sacrifice without expecting anything in return. But what do men need? I would say that they need, I want to say submission, but I want to be very, very careful. Right? Because again, people define submission differently.
That's true.
So I would rather say they need trust. So trust the calling, as a woman, trust the calling upon the life of your husband. Right? Now, your husband may not look like that calling. He may not even know the depth of the calling upon his life. And more often than not, God will tell you what your husband is to be and the role that you have to play in what he's to be, and vice versa, right? Because God will tell me, God, I know exactly what my wife is supposed to be. Even when she doesn't know it, I know. And it is my responsibility to support her to become, that person. And so what they need, what men need is prayers, right? And it's not only the woman's responsibility to pray. Again, it goes both ways. Okay. I've heard people say that men need you to stroke their egos. I don't know about that. But I'd rather say women need to understand that men have egos. Now, I'm not asking you to change yourself to support or adopt or accommodate said egos. Rather, I say know your husband or your partner and be sure that their ego is something you can be comfortable with, because it's not going to go away, right? It's something that is going to be there. The person may love you so much that he may start to be cautious about how he responds to his egotistic whims, but it is a reality that you're going to be, faced with for the cause of your relationship, and so you must be prepared to accommodate that. I'm sure other men will jump at the opportunity to say, "Oh, men need a helpmeet." Helpmeet. Wow. Okay, I will not even break that table today. We'll leave it for another day. But yes, men do need a helpmeet. But understand there's a helpmeet. Oh, meet help, right? Meet the help. So just supplements what you already are or have. Not that she becomes your house help. Right? They just say men, then the house help. Then they help meet. Right. And so yes, biblically, your wife is supposed to supplement as a helper to you, right? So where you are weak, she meets your weakness and supports that weakness. Where you are strong, she contributes and makes your strength more pronounced. That's how I define helpmates. Yeah, I hope that answers your question to some extent, but
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. It does. Thank you so much, IPK. And then the last question before your rapid fire question question. That one will just take maybe 2 minutes. I'm talking about the rapid fire question, but this is the final question. Is what would you say to, or what advice? I want you to really please give an advice to men who really want to get married. They're going to watch this, but they are really fearful of that commitment. You've shared authentically about how at a point you needed to ask, what am I even giving in this marriage, when you were traveling a lot, in the abridged version of what you shared with us. Some men are scared of coming to that space of authenticity and sacrifice, so therefore there's just this unspoken fear about about getting married. So what do you have to say to such men? They are interested, it's not like they're not interested, but they have that fear. They don't know if they can be selfless enough to carry through with the commitment of marriage.
Marriage is not by force. Um,
When you said it, I was not even expecting that question, but and that answer rather, but that just hit it. Okay,
it's true
so don't
now.
forget people are interested, but yeah, like at the end of the day, you now have
I
to
don't
pick.
want to disinterest anybody, but the truth is,
Mm,
know thyself. That's a super powerful counsel. I don't know if it's a Bible verse, but
mm,
knowledge of yourself gives you more power than anything
no, that.
else.
Mm,
So, not everybody, like I said, is designed for marriage. That's just the truth. That's
mhm.
just the truth. There are people who go through life without ever having a partner. Paul, for example, never got married. And they will tell you Paul had genuine reasons why, because all Paul wanted to do was just love this God. And
Mm,
he knows that if he's married today, um, the wife can tell him not to go to Philippa, or he wants to go and see the church in Ephesians. The wife will say, sit down. Where are you going? Is it Ephesians today? Ephesus today? Rome tomorrow? Ah, are you married to this church or are you married to me?
that's true. Very, yeah, that's the reality that
You
can
know?
come up.
And so that's what influences my statement that marriage is not for everyone. Some people desire certain things for their lives that just doesn't fit into the reality of a marriage. You know, except
I have to.
except except God has designed a perfect partner for you who would, you know, navigate. And to be honest, I think that just bringing it back to your first question is that's really why I I chose my wife. Is our
Mm,
philosophies were just so aligned. You understand? Like I already said to you, my idea of marriage is very different from what most people, you know, understand or believe or have been led to know or have been raised to know. Even to some extent, my parents don't even agree with some of the things I have said or the way we have designed our home. But the truth is that's why we got married. We were both in sync in what we wanted out of a relationship, in how we wanted our relationship to go, you know. Um I for so a simple example is that there's no one person who is supposed to cook in my house. I cook. In fact, these days I my wife doesn't like me saying it a lot, but because she works and I work from home, I I I find myself preparing food more than she does, and I don't have a problem with that, you know. But there are some men who cannot stomach that. They must have fresh food every day. Today, ha, problem. You go and learn to cook it by yourself. But that's my own. That's peculiar to me. It's not a law for anybody.
mhm,
But
mm.
what I'm trying to get at is there are some women that will not accept that for me as a man that you want to take my responsibility in the house. What will I now be doing?
That's true. That's true. Yes.
And
It's only the women that will be saying, no, you cannot do it. That's
go
actually,
and
it
sit down,
happened.
leave the kitchen. They don't. touch my fridge. All those
That's very
things.
mm,
I mean, I would not accept that in my house or in our
mm,
house, right? And so it's contextual, right? Really, it's more that if you don't feel, and particularly for men, if
yeah.
you are not convinced, that the time is right now. Now shall I get married? Please and please don't put pressure on another man's child and now bring her into a relationship or a marriage that would eventually steal her joy and happiness.
I mean, absolutely well answered, IBK. Thank you so much for that. So we'll just get to the final part, your rapid fire questions. In 2 minutes, we'll be done with this. So you have to answer the question within 30 seconds. Just a fun part and a fun way to end and close the interview. The first question is, what is your favorite color?
Blue,
Your favorite food?
ah, amala, and egusi with begiri and different livestock.
And I really livestock. Okay, what are you allergic to?
Um, Dairy, milk.
Mm, okay. What's your best movie?
Ah, off my head, Coach Carter.
Okay. The best book. Your best book.
Freakonomics and super freakonomics.
Were you given birth to in Nigeria? Were you born in Nigeria? Okay, if you were not born,
Unfortunately, unfortunately,
if you were not born in Nigeria, what country would you have liked to be born into?
uh, uh, Japan or Canada.
Gold or silver?
Jesus.
Ah, can you imagine? No, okay, you have to choose one. What kind of response is that?
Good. You can see that. That's what I read. Good. Yeah.
Black or white?
Black,
Yellow or pink?
yellow. Good job.
What is one favorite thing about your wife?
She's brilliant, man. She's super smart. Yeah.
Let's see. What is one favorite attire to wear? Your one favorite attire to wear.
Thanks.
Okay. What is one favorite thing for you to do? Your favorite thing to do?
I'll just chill with my boys, man. I mean, of course, besides chilling with my wife. But yeah, just chilling with my boys, yeah.
Okay. What do you like to do for fun?
I like to see new places, travel. I like a good party, you know. Dancing, bro. I can dance for 8 hours straight and non-stop, man. I like to do that.
That's okay. Amazing. Small chops or jollof rice?
Nah, that's a travesty, man. You can't put those two things in the same.
No. Okay, we've
Mm.
had people struggle with this question on the show. You have to pick one to go. It's like small chops or jollof rice, so that in the future we'll know. IBK picks this one over this one.
I'll pick jollof rice because I make fire as jollof. So just so that I can market my jollof, I'll pick jollof rice. I can, yeah.
Okay. Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits, more
Would
fruits
you,
than vegetables. Yeah.
would you rather take a train or a ship? Railway or waterway?
Well, I'll take a ship because I've never really been on a ship before. I've only done more trains. Yeah. So
Okay.
for the
The
experience,
bus, what is exactly? Well, the bus or an airplane?
airplane, ma, please and thank you.
Okay, writing or speaking?
Writing or what?
Or speaking, writing or speaking, which one do you prefer?
You know the answer to that one. I can talk for days. So speaking,
Rain or sunshine?
sunshine. Thanks.
How do you prefer to learn, audio or visual?
visual, actually, like videos,
Mm.
graphics. Yeah, I remember that more. Audio, I probably would slip off just doing that. Yeah, but visual, yeah.
Yeah, okay. A day at the beach or a day in one of your favorite restaurants?
Which restaurant?
Ah,
Please bring the beach. Thank you.
who actually choose restaurants? Many people because of the food, but like
Bring restaurants,
beach,
Kenny.
whatever, do
Bring the
whatever
beach.
time.
Just relax and just let the breeze get in my face and communicate with the Lord Most High. Bring the beach. Thanks. Thanks.
So
Thanks.
if you had an inspirational, if you had a magical wand to choose one thing to change in Nigeria, what would that one thing be that you would like to see changed?
If I say it, they will use it against me when I'm doing my ministerial screening. I will not say it. Bye-bye.
Okay, no problem, no problem, no problem. And finally, what do you want to be remembered for?
Wow. That's a big question, man. I think I want to remember for being authentic.
Mm,
Um, that everyone who thinks about me be like, IBK was himself, man. IBK did not live for anybody but himself, Of
mm,
course, for family and for love for love, but that everyone can point to me and say, yes, IBK is a real one. Is a real
mm.
one. Yeah, that I was authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's memorable. Thank you so much, IBK, for joining us for today's amazing session. And
Pleasure
just
was
drop
mine, man. Thanks for having me.
wisdom with a lot of I love the chill, the wisdom and chill. Yeah, wisdom and chill. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
man.
And thank you to everybody that has joined us this morning. We don't take it at all for granted. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
having me.